it took months after the Lehman collapse for GDX and GDXJ to take off. And for those that don't know it, those are the two largest ETFs in the mining sector run by Van.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Alternative Edge Report. I am your host today, Olivia Voz, and we're bringing on an all-star guest with insane predictions at this point, John Feneck, CEO of Feneck Consulting. Welcome, John.
Thanks, boss. Great to see you again.
Well, thank you. Honestly, John, your predictions are so spot on. I had to bring you on the show today to see if we have any updates. John said that gold would be hitting 3,200 in May 2025. It is May 2025, and we have hit that goal. John, do you have an updated target for gold, or are we going to start to roll over now?
Yeah, so I went back and looked at our last interview date, and I think we had raised it to 33.50 at that point. We then saw after our interview some interesting things in that Goldman Sachs, as well as JPMorgan, which is, as you know, been notorious over the years for getting fined for manipulating gold and silver, has raised their target to $4,000 by summer of next year. Which is meaningful because JPMorgan Chase is the largest bank in the U.S. So a lot of people, Voz, have said to me all year, hey, why are you so bullish with these banks getting excited about gold? Isn't that a contrarian, signal? And I'm like, that's not the case. This is them catching up to the narrative that people like you and I already know, which is gold is an asset class that the wealthy, as well as central banks, as well as the average Joe at Costco is now buying, right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone wants in. I was hoping they were just watching this show. And perhaps if you are, what's up, JPMorgan and Goldman? We're happy to have you as viewers. So we're going to give you some more targets here and actually narrow down the sector. John, in our January interview, we were talking about specific gold stocks. NEM, for instance. It was at 37 for a buy. Now we're looking at 52, a little over $52. GDX, another one, in at 35.90 as a buy signal for you. It's now 49, almost $50. Is the mining rally closer to being over, or are we really getting that next catalyst to fuel it up again?
Yeah, so if you look back at history, Voz, in rallies for gold, like 2009 going into 2012, let's say, it took months after the Lehman collapse for GDX and GDXJ to take off. And for those that don't know it, those are the two largest ETFs in the mining sector run by Van Eck. And so they have over $20 billion US in them right now. It's a good barometer for the space in terms of producing companies. And Newmont NEM is the largest holding in GDX. So yeah, we put buys on both of those in January. We've been pretty correct there. But to answer your question, we're like in inning 2 or 3 of a 9-inning ball game here for mining stocks. And that might be conservative in the sense that gold usually runs first, and then the producing companies run second. And then you go down in capitalization. The mid-tiers, the small caps, and the micro caps start catching up. And that's what we're starting to see right now, which is exciting.
At one point when we were discussing gold's awesome run higher, we were also talking about how some gold investors or cherry picking specific stocks have been frustrated because while gold has had such a run, those stocks and companies were kind of lagging. Now we're really starting to see them pop up. And like you mentioned, NEM has been an all-star player here. What other gold names are you watching to finally follow?
Well, we mentioned Denarius on your program either in March or in January. It was around 39 cents, I remember, and the ticker is DNRSF in the States, DMET in Canada. And this is a great illustration for your listeners, Voz, in terms of why it's important to stay in touch with a CEO or a chairman and just get color around their public news, because sometimes even for myself as a non-geologist, it's difficult to really understand the significance of news in the mining space. And so I have a very good relationship with both the chairman and the CFO of that company. And I just called them and said, hey, it looks like you're going into production soon, right? Like how on track are you for that time-wise and budget-wise? And they were on track. So we just kept buying the stock, and now it's trading at 52.5. So a nice move from 39 in terms of percentage growth in a very short couple of months. And now they're in commercial production in Colombia. They got their water permit in Spain, so that's on track. And they just picked up a fourth project, 50-50 joint venture, just a few weeks ago. So we like companies like Denarius that have a number of ways to win for investors.
I mean, production, that's music to our ears as someone looking to buy some individual gold stocks, especially that they are in production and not just happen to follow gold's momentum that we've been seeing. But bring it back to investors who kind of felt frustrated with gold's run up, but the miners or other stocks, not following it. Let's take a shout out to the silver people over here. Silver has been lagging as well. It can kind of feel that gold is outshining the other shiny stuff. At 32.90 an ounce, what are your thoughts on silver for the year? Are we going to have that moment for silver like we did in gold?
It's going to be a longer haul for silver, but I wouldn't give up on it. It's still our largest holding, and when I say it's our largest holding, we accumulated a lot of that position at much lower prices pre-2020 and in 2020. So I think that's an important distinction as well. When you look at portfolio managers like myself and their track records, you have to ask, hey, this is a large position for you. When did you buy this? It's not that we're buying silver every month, right? We did buy it 4 times last year. We bought it 24, 25, 27, and at 30. The reason we did that was because we don't have a magic ball that tells us when to buy stuff, right? We buy many times on the way up in a rally, and we're not done with the silver rally yet. We're, as you mentioned, just below 33, but we're kind of in no man's land right now because 30 was major resistance for 11 years. And now it's holding a support, which is really, really bullish on the chart. But we're in what we call a channel, right? We're between 30 and 34 an ounce roughly, and we're just bouncing around. So until we break one way or the other, we won't really have clarity. It's our view that by the fall, meaning by October, we will see silver break 35 to the upside, and then it's a quick move to 37 on the long-term chart. And then it gets really interesting because silver investors, I think, are more rabid than gold investors, and they will start buying hand over fist over 35. We talked about Neptune Global on your last show, which, in fact, Chris Blasi was just at my Florida conference in May and was the closing speaker 2 weeks ago. Did a great job. And, that's a company that you could align yourself with as an investor and buy small portions of silver. They don't have huge minimums. And they're financially backed by some really good people and institutions, right? So we buy physical silver. We also buy the ETFs if we have to, if we're trading. But it's much better, we think, to own the physical. And so that is our largest position at the moment.
So besides physical, and by the way, nice shout out to Chris. He's been on the show before too. Another great prognosticator when it comes to the metals market. I know gold, like gold ETF, gold stocks. I mean, they kind of just take over. But when it comes to tracking silver, I like to look at the ETF SLV. Are there any individual stocks that aren't necessarily just grouped in with gold that you can trade, or that maybe you're accumulating as well?
Sure. So our largest silver equity holding is a small name that many haven't heard of called Aftermath Silver. The ticker is AAGFF in the States, AAG in Canada. There's a number of reasons. I've known the founder for over 5 years, and we mentioned this on podcasts at 14, 17, 20 cents. Is trading at 40 cents now. So again, when you hear people, Voz, in the industry say a 5-bagger this, 10-bagger that, most of these people don't have any clue about what that even means, and they haven't achieved those results over time. I would encourage people to go to our website, fennecconsulting.com/performance, and look at our performance because it's been out there publicly for 9 years, and it's real, right? It's audited. It's been out there. I think a lot of people talk about 5,000% gains and 1,000% gains like it's like normal and easy. It's not. And so Aftermath is one of those things that has been something we bought in the teens, but now it's at 40 cents. It hit 50 cents last year on heavy volume on the back of the news that Eric Sprott, who is renowned in the mining space as a billionaire, bought about another 15 million Canadian of the stock. and Eric now owns 25% of Aftermath. And when I asked Michael 2 weeks ago at my conference, how many stocks does Eric own 25% of? He said under 5. So that gives you some feeling about how Eric feels about the stock. As far as we're concerned, it can win 3 different ways. It's not just silver. They have about 150 million ounces of silver identified, but they also have copper and they have manganese. Copper hit an all-time high since our last recording, and manganese is an obscure kind of commodity that a lot of people don't track, but Aftermath's manganese is 99.9% battery grade, which means that metal, once it's extracted years from now, not tomorrow, will be economic to the stock in a meaningful way, in our opinion. And that's what got Eric's attention in the fall, from what I hear.
Well, if something gets Eric's attention, who sounds like the Warren Buffett of metals and mining, I'm going to get attention there as well. So my attention is going there as well, is how I should phrase it. You did mention copper. Are you playing copper? I mean, it did hit a recent high this year.
Copper's been really interesting because the big boys like Goldman were way early on this call. If you remember, in 2023 and into 2024, the big banks were calling for much higher copper prices than have been achieved. But then quietly this year, it started to break out and it made an all-time high. So we started to get more interested in some copper names. We just started a position in a little junior called Giant Mining, which is BFGFF in the States, because their copper hits have been just starting here in terms of getting assays back from the lab, right? So we love news flow when we're buying an Explorer because, if you buy an Explorer, let's say, before they're drilling, well, it takes a while to drill. Then it takes a while to get your results back, meaning like 2 months plus many times. So we kind of waited this one out to see what their first hole looked like, which was outstanding. And they're in the States, right? We're heavily weighted towards companies that are in the U.S. right now because of Trump's executive order in March. And frankly, what did it for me, and I think I've said this on your show, was Trump just kind of trouncing Biden in last summer with regard to the debate. I didn't think any candidate from the Democratic Party would win at that point, including Biden. And we kind of went all in on U.S. assets because I didn't think Trump would be this supportive of U.S. assets, but look at what happened, right? I mean, he sees the opportunity that many of us see in the sector, which is this is an undervalued, misunderstood sector. And when you have that kind of backdrop, you can make a lot of money because people don't do their homework.
And John, like you mentioned before, and guys, if you have not watched previous Alternative Edge Report shows, I highly recommend it because John's predictions have not just been on target, but also the supporting factors of why we are seeing this big movement and explosion, I should call it, in the metals and alternative market. Are there any special situations coming up that can be pushed with the Trump administration policies, the Federal Reserve, or any other resources that can help make momentum in any of the alternative sectors?
Yeah, sure. So on the last show, we talked about tungsten as a critical mineral and being used in body armor and missiles and ammunition. We still like tungsten very, very much as an under-the-radar commodity that is, again, misunderstood by the average investor. They just haven't done their homework to understand the dynamics here and how dominant of a position that China has in that commodity. So we're buying American-based, as well as Canadian-based tungsten plays. There's really only a handful you can buy. We talked on your last show about American tungsten, which is DEMRF, and TUNG in Canada. We talked about that at 70 cents on the nose US. After our show, it ran up to $1.15 and is now under 70 cents. It's trading at 52 cents. So that just underscores the volatility in our sector, right, Voz? This is a very tradable sector. I'm not suggesting people trade it. I'm just saying that if you missed it at the last interview, yes, it ran up, but now it's actually below where I liked it. So we continue to buy it. Guardian Metal, we also mentioned slightly higher than where it is right now. We mentioned it around 59 or 60 cents. It's trading at 54 cents. But I just talked to that CEO literally today, and they're doing everything correct, right? They've got 2 large properties in Nevada. They're talking to the U.S. government. I don't know if your listeners understand this, but when Trump came in, he kind of cleaned house in certain departments, right, in January and February. And so if you're a little microcap company talking to one rep, think about it. If that person loses their job, you don't just almost have to hit the reset button and start over. And so it is very disruptive to these little companies, and they get delayed on launching some very important news. So that's one we really like too. That's GMTLF. And then lastly, we mentioned Canada. I mean, Fireweed is one that we like, which is FWEDF. They've already gotten their grant money. And by that, grant money is when a government hands you a check and says, here, use it for business purposes only, but we're giving this to you. This is not, you diluting shareholders into the ground. And that check was $35 million. So for a little small company to get a $35 million check, you can see it in Fireweed's chart. It's gone from $1 to $1.50. I mean, it's literally up 50% since getting that check in just around 6 months.
So if you guys like some unique metals or alternatives, we have fireweed, tungsten. I must say, you sent me right to Google when you mentioned that one, and yes, that chart did explode. And tungsten is on a fire sale right now, even under the original price that John pointed this one out. John, we love having you on the show. You are a great chat, and we're excited to have you back on to follow up on your predictions. So far, so good. We're keeping a scorecard here.
I love it. I want to be held accountable. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. And John talks to these CEOs all the time. He has that awesome information for us to look at other alternatives for you. Guys, thanks for watching the Alternative Edge Report. Again, I'm Olivia Voz. We love having you here. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future predictions and episodes.